Hello, everybody. This is Elizabeth Moselle, and tonight we're doing Friday Fright Night. So, again, if you're a replay, I start my information or start my conversation about 2 minutes. Gives the people that wants to join the opportunity to get the whole effect. So, if you're watching it again on replay, just give about 2 minutes. So sometimes I chit and chat, but I'm not gonna do it. So if you hear clinking, I am doing my hair, but I will stop when I'm doing the program because that's like rude. I hope y'all doing well. Alrighty, it's 2 minutes, so let's get into this discussion. Now, what you think of Fright Nights is like something gruesome and scary, and I won't say it's I want to do that. I don't think I want to. Um, I do want to talk about certain people that been on the scene, but they really got pushed aside for other harsh, or they got old. The story got old. It's been over 30, 40 years, so nobody's really not talking about the story or the situation, but we still see it come play every day. So let's talk about the person of the night. And her name is Blanche Taylor Moore. All right. Mm, Um, she was born in February 17, 1933. We're gonna just do a little bit of. I feel like it's a lot of he say, she say. More like it's her say. Because obviously the father is not here to defend it, and I didn't see anything about the father history. If that makes sense. So basically, I'm gonna just go by her word of mouth because that's where most of the people got their information from. So her father was an ordained minister, and obviously, sometimes some people are not as walking in the right life in the word of God, so they get trapped in the world. So they can preach it on Sunday, but they definitely walk it Monday through Saturday. Okay, so he was a womanizer, he was a gambler, and he was an alcoholic. So with Blanche seeing all this in her childhood, probably did some effect to her as an adult. But there I go again. There's this rumor that he forced her into a certain type of adult life at an early age of younger than 7. So just from that time, we really don't know much about Blanche. until she got older, until she married James Taylor. In May 2000 and I'm sorry, May 29, 1952. Now they had two children within the marriage, but again, everything is reported is what Blanche is saying. You know, Blanche is talking. She's telling her side of the story. And of course, Blanche reported that he was the one that was abusive in the relationship. It don't state that they was ever divorced, so she was still legally married to him in a way. So, and probably about 1954, she started working at Kroger's, and she moved herself up to become the head cashier. And that was the highest at that time in 1959. That was the highest position at Kroger's available for a woman employee. And she also um, she made the most money besides from the general manager or the store manager. Um, and basically, you know, she worked herself off. And later on, in 1962, she was still married to Taylor. She started dating Raymond. Now, Raymond, I would not have thought that for for Blanche to be like so against creeping outside the marriage. You wouldn't think that she would have been like that type, but we'll talk about the creeping in a minute. Um, I don't know why I'm so nervous, y'all. I'm trying to stick with this script. Hold on, let me. Who's who's that? Now I'm trying to get back to it. Okay, I'm gonna get back to it. Okay, so and okay, so we just left off with Raymond. So she started dating Raymond, and I don't think at this time her and Taylor was getting a divorce. No shape. I don't think so. But she was, well, they wasn't dating, they was having an affair. That's what's typically called an affair. So so again, they're still having this relationship. But in 1985, hold on, her husband passed away in 1973. And that's when her and Raymond, they started being more publicly about their relationship and people start seeing them together. Um, so they're still dating since 1962. These two been a couple. They've been a idol. They've been together. In 1985, while she was still dating with Raymond, she started fooling around with the regional manager at Kroger's. Well, Bob. His name was Bob. But she eventually, when probably when Bob wasn't doing what she wanted him to do, like giving her extra raise or whatever, she played dirty. She eventually, they stopped talking, they stopped meeting up. She later on, within that year, said, "Hey, this is sexual harassment. He's making me do things, and he's using things over my head, like he's trying to fire me." But you know, within 2 years, Kroger's forced forced Bob to, you know, quit, forced Bob to resign, and they paid Blanche a 275,000 settlement. So they settled it out of court for that, just to stay, Kroger's friendly. They couldn't have that. Within that same year, Blanche was, gosh, how can I say it? Blanche was like damsel in distress in a little bit. Everybody is, it was everybody's fault besides hers. So even when it came down to the Krogers, even though we know that she has been recorded and recorded that, she basically played dirty and she got what she wanted at the end. So eventually she started doing this frequently. Um, Later on we found out that she used to set her own houses on fire. So not just she was just literally set her houses on fire, like, and then she'll blame it on that pervert. So basically, I'm going to jump around because I feel a little bit more comfortable talking about it. But I did see the movie. It's called Black Widow Murder. So majority of this is basically points of views of the film, but it actually came back from like hardcore documents. Okay. But she will basically, call Raymond up and that pervert is here. And it was kind of funny and it's really true. In the movie, it showed that she said the pervert would lay her lingerie on the bed and set it on fire while looking at her. And the funny part about it was who would believe it? But the firefighters and the cops, they all took her side. Like, oh my gosh, this poor woman, somebody's going through her lingerie and setting it on fire and it's almost killing her. So people really felt bad for her, but not realizing she's the main one that's doing it. But she just needed that attention. She needed to feel wanted. Whoever would give her that, oh, that rescue, she would take it. So Raymond was like her man. And every time she felt like he wasn't there, she would definitely use, oh, that pervert, he burnt down my house. So eventually he did burn down the house with the help, and it was reported that the fire marshal said, hey, we got to be careful with these houses because sometimes a little spark can ignite the whole thing back up. So it's been reported that the second time her house was set on fire all the way down. Okay, so she's still dating Raymond at this time. And the late 1985 or early 1986, she started dating this Reverend Dwight Moore. So that's where you get her name from. Taylor's her first marriage, Moore is her second marriage. So when she started dating Moore, Raymond suddenly got sick. He was diagnosed with shingles. So we don't really know if that was the problem, but they just could not get him well. Like, there's no reason why this man is sick. He's healthy. Why is he still sick? Or why are we getting him better and he's getting worse? But he was eventually getting worse because Blanche will come and visit him often. And every time she comes and visit him, something goes wrong. She used to tell the nurse, hey, I feed him. You don't feed him. So later on, you find out why she wanted to feed Raymond so much. And this process, she's still dating Morgan Moore. I'm sorry. She's still dating Moore, and while grieving for her boyfriend. Now Raymond is her boyfriend. Everybody, his kids, his wife. Raymond is still married. Okay. His kids, his wife, they are like, yeah, Blanche is his woman. you know. So she had a lot of say when it came down to Raymond and his medical. Um, so it really showed that everybody thought she was a good person at heart. Like she would never harm my dad, or she would never, do anything to contradict him getting well. So later on, and I'm sorry, Raymond passed away in October of 1986. Only 4 months. Hold on. It was April that he was diagnosed. May, June, July. Well, I'm saying May, June, July, August, October. Only 5 months when he passed away after he was diagnosed with shingles. So in July of 1987, Blanche found out she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Within that same year, Moore opposed. He popped the question. He said, "Hey, I wouldn't. I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go through this with you, sickness and health." And he really wanted. He really loved Blanche. It wasn't no running away. He just genuinely loved Blanche for who she was. Um, at that time, he probably thought, "Hey, she's a great woman. Like, you know, she cooks my meals. She's a freak in a sheet, and I can't ask for more. She cleans house, and she's there." Um, Within this time frame, Blanche found out why he got divorced and why he had to leave his other congregation. And he basically told her, "Hey, I cheated on my wife and I moved. I didn't run. I just relocated. I wanted to find my faith back." And this was her personal red flag. When I say this was her personal red flag, she knew that she didn't want a cheater, and she was afraid that he might cheat again. Now, obviously, we can look back at it. She's always been cheating on somebody. She's been cheating on her first husband with Raymond. She cheated on Raymond with two men that we know of. And that was Bob, the regional manager, and also Dwight, the Reverend. But she just could not take the fact that she could not trust this man with her life. Not well, with her heart. So instead of saying, "No, I can't marry you," what she do? 2 years later, in April 1989, she jumped the broom with Dwight Moore. They went to their honeymoon, and within a couple of days, he came down really sick. Probably about April the 28th, he was not getting well, so they transferred him to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, um, where they found out he had a lethal dose of arsenic. Now, let's go back to the father. The father passed away in 1966, 7 years after her first husband. Yeah, 7 years before her first husband died in 1973. So they started, when they did the investigation for Dwight And at the time, Dwight really wasn't sure. He wasn't sure that she was the one that caused his arson. He didn't want to believe this woman, my love, the lady that I share intimacy with, she's the one that killed me, or she's trying to kill me. He couldn't do it. So eventually, they tracked everybody down with Miss Moore, even her best friend. Now, her best friend was also dying of cancer. I'm sorry, y'all. So she was also dying of cancer, but it was more of her diagnosis was a little bit more lethal than, just typical, hey, King Mike. It was just difficult. So they really couldn't tell if she died of arsenic or just chemo. They really couldn't tell. So they had to like not put her in it. But when it was eventually time for her to go on trial for Dwight, they added her ex-husband, her father, her mother-in-law, and Raymond to her trial. Um, she had literally about seven. No, I'm sorry. She had husband. She had four bodies on her, and also a attempt murder. So now we're going back. She is 93. She'll be 93 this year. Hold on. Yeah, she'll be 93 next year. Hold on. How? No, 89. She's 89. So she'll be 90 this year coming up. And she's still on death row. So literally, she's like the oldest female on death row in North Carolina. So now we're going to talk about like small things about her. I just gave y'all a little hint of her life. But this is the scary part about it. She's like the sweetest looking old woman ever. Like you would never expect like somebody that sweet looking. She went to church every Sunday, worked at Kroger's to like commit like four murders. Like you would never expect that. You'll never expect that she was the one that sleeps around. Like you, when you see her, you're like, oh, cute Betty Jean. Like she's so cute. You would never expect that. But she is. There's people out here all the time with this sheep clothing, and they're actually wolves. Betty Blanche was definitely a wolf. She knew her victims. She knew the men that crave women that was desperate. She knew that. She learned that from a very young age. Definitely if her father had, forced her into a life that she definitely did not understand. So, was she created or was she always like this? Well, definitely say she was created with the environment that she had as a kid. See, we have to be careful because there's sometimes people that we deal with, they have trauma all hitting inside of them. They try to act always normal, okay, together, but they have a breaking point. I will say that each man that came into Moore's life, Blanche's life, not Moore, Blanche's life, they had some type of red flag. Now, she gained money from every man that she married. She had life insurance on her first husband. She had Roman's property before he passed, and she made sure. Now, the kids did fight over it. They tried to fight over it, but Blanche had the power of attorney. Even though they wasn't married, she had the power of attorney. She made sure she was going to get something from Roman. Um, and more. Now, Moore ever told her, "Hey, I never cheated on my wife. I just left her. I was tired of her." Well, he had a chance of not getting harmed in the marriage within like a week after their honeymoon. Who knows? I just think Blanche is probably one of my favorite monsters. When I say that, it's not because she murdered people, but she had personality. She had one of those personalities that made you, hmm, she couldn't do that. You serious? But at the end of the day, she was capable of doing it. And if she never got stopped, like for example, if Moore passed away and nobody never checked the arsenic test, would she still been out here killing? Yes, very much so. Because she would only pick the men that was weak in her eyes, the cheaters, the ones that still are married, and the ones that is a womanizer. She still loved those type of men, and she had control over them. She knew what was going to control them. To be the sweet woman, the helpless, the woman in distress. She knew that. So, y'all, if y'all want to catch the story, if I was too boring, I understand. You can always find this story on YouTube under the Black Widow Murderer. Now, if anybody knows, if you ever see this Lifetime movie, I love this movie. Love, love, love. But just to make it more fun and more interesting, that you might want it, the lady who played Bewitch, Elizabeth Montgomery, she is Blanche. So y'all have a wonderful night, and I'll see y'all next week with Friday Fright Night. Bye.